These are this afternoon's top stories. Federation aims for full reopening in October. Brazil surpasses 4,000 daily COVID deaths, and AstraZeneca vaccine comes under further pressure in the EU and UK. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Thursday, the 8th of April, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Medical Chief of Staff at the JNF General Hospital, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, says the Federation is aiming for a full reopening in October of this year. He said this on April 6 during the virtual forum series Leadership Matters, hosted by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Dr. Wilkinson said, quote, "The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis has done exceedingly well in the fight against COVID-19, and we are grateful that to date we have had no major hospitalizations nor deaths from the virus." End quote.
As we move towards a full reopening sometime in October, we can expect the virus to return and enter our communities. The difference now, compared to the early days in the fight, is that we have a vaccine available that can protect us. We congratulate the near 10,000 persons who stepped forward and did the right thing and got their first shot, taking us to almost 30% of the target population. We understand the hesitancy by some due in part to misunderstandings or to misinformation.
He encouraged the population to continue to, quote-unquote, do the right thing, outlining that the vaccine is free, highly efficacious and effective, a lifesaver, safe and protective of those around you and the vulnerable. He said also that the Federation needs 70 to 90% of the population to be vaccinated to protect the Federation's health systems, keep the population financially strong, help to prevent fake news, and get back to normalcy in the quickest way possible. Officers from the Royal St. Kitts Nevis Police Force visited ZIZ Studios on Thursday for the program Policing with You to remind the general public of the importance of maintaining the compliance of the COVID-19 safety protocols, especially relating to hosting events. Superintendent Cromwell Henry said persons have been applying to host events, promising that protocols will be maintained. However, when the event takes place, there is very little compliance, he said.
Now, what we are seeing happening is that persons are applying using the correct numbers, applying for the correct numbers because they know, and then once they get approval, everything goes through the window for them. They just allow how much of a persons come to enter, and that is where the problem comes in. If you apply for and get approval to have 50 persons at your event, and you allow 100 persons to come, then you're in violation of your permit. And that would result in your event being stopped. And It could result in prosecution.
He explained that for the long Easter weekend, 97 events were approved, which made it difficult for the police to enforce the protocols.
We had 97 approved events over that 3-day weekend, from Friday to Monday.
Wow.
97. And so you must understand the police and the compliance team have to police those events. You could see the task it is. So some persons are arguing, well, how is it you stop mine and he went over there, had a lot to a year and stop he? We can't be everywhere. There's 97 things happening. We can't be everywhere.
Superintendent Henry emphasized that persons must take responsibility for what they do. Policing with You airs every Thursday on ZIZ Radio and streams live on the ZIZ Facebook and YouTube pages from 9:15 in the morning during the morning show with GQ. As St. Kitts and Nevis joined in bringing awareness to World Health Day on April 7, healthcare agencies in the private sector also did their part in public awareness, offering some of their services free of cost. On Wednesday, companies such as Care Nursing Agency, Quality Diagnostic Laboratory, and MASA Medical Air Services Agency staged a health fair at the Independence Square to achieve this. Dwayne Strawn, sales manager at MASA, gave an overview of the fair and services while speaking to the patrons and health agencies present.
And again, like everybody is saying that, talking about World Health Day 2021, building a fairer, healthier world, which is the slogan for 2021 from World Health Organization, which today happens to be their anniversary. If I'm not mistaken, I think today is their 48th anniversary of the World Health Organization. And we're celebrating that, and we're also celebrating and collaborating together with Massa Assist, and we're promoting health awareness. Today is World Health Day, but we do things every month, all the time. So it's any day and every day you can do that.
Nurse Keisha Rollins, owner and manager of Care Nursing Agency, spoke of some of the services available.
And I'm proud to say we have 40 free doctor visits.
40?
40.
When I last talked to you, you had 10.
I had 10.
So you were giving away 44 free doctor visits from what kind of doctors?
Doctor specialists, doctor.
Like name brand doctors, not like just kind of like you're trying to think doctor, but you're a real doctor.
Real doctors, Dr. Hobson, Dr. Woodley, Dr. Joe, Dr. Hendrickson, Dr. Laws, Dr. O'Loughlin. We're gonna give 20 to Nevis. So
that's right. We're gonna be doing Nevis as well.
20 visits, and Nevis will have 20 as well.
That's awesome. That's really powerful. Really powerful.
Rapid tests in urine analysis and blood glucose were available, as well as blood pressure checks and other screenings. The Civil Aviation Division in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation is inviting all drone owners and operators to a consultation next week on drones within the Federation. According to a statement, the consultation is geared towards sensitizing drone operators to the potential regional drone legislation in keeping with international standards and recommended practices. The consultation will be held in St. Kitts on Wednesday, 14th April at the Customs and Excise Department Conference Room in Bird Rock, and in Nevis on Tuesday, 13th April at the Nevis Disaster Management Conference Room at Long Point. Both sessions begin at 4 in the afternoon. Interested persons are asked to contact Jessica Body in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation at 467-1161 to register. We now move to news on the regional scene. For the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, Brazil has recorded more than 4,000 coronavirus deaths in a single day, a new grim milestone for the country as President Jair Bolsonaro continues to reject public health restrictions. Al Jazeera's Charlotte Bellis reports.
Ambulances race across cities in Brazil, desperate to slow the death count from COVID-19. But it's a losing battle, with record figures, 4,195 deaths in just one day. Brazil is now considered the global epicenter of the pandemic. Contagious new variants have overwhelmed hospitals, with hundreds dying as they wait for treatment.
The infections have reached a plateau, it seems, but the deaths haven't started declining. So it seems like we are still in for about 2 more weeks of increasing deaths.
Some cemeteries have been holding nighttime burials to deal with the growing numbers. Brazil's death toll of 337,000 is second only to the United States.
We should have had stricter laws like in some other countries. It would have been hard for people at that time, but we would have had a much lower number of deaths, I think.
President Jair Bolsonaro has pushed back against mask wearing and lockdowns. Last week he swore in a new health minister, his 4th since the pandemic began. Brazil was also slow to secure vaccines. So far, less than 10% of Brazilians have received their first dose.
There are still a lot of people to be vaccinated, so we have to go faster, act faster. If they had acted faster at the first stage of the pandemic, there wouldn't be this death rate.
Argentina also marked a record, more than 20,000 new COVID-19 cases in 24 hours, its highest daily count. The government responded with tougher restrictions. Argentina's President Alberto Fernandez is isolating after testing positive, but in Buenos Aires, residents say life must go on.
We have to go to work. There is no other choice. We have to go out. And well, we're going through a spike. Many cases.
Chile is also seeing a surge in cases. The government reacted by postponing elections originally scheduled for this weekend.
We are confident and will work with no rest so that on the 15th and 16th of May, sanitation conditions will be more favourable for elections, so that the people's health is not at risk and we have a high level of participation.
A morbid picture across much of Latin America. But in Colombia, a story of survival. 104-year-old Carmen Hernandez was discharged from hospital after 3 weeks. It is the second time she has beaten the virus. Charlotte Bellis, Al Jazeera.
In Guyana, persons 60 years and above will not be administered the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine, a directive issued by the Ministry of Health from the manufacturers. Tamika Rodney of HGP News reports.
As Guyana focuses on immunizing citizens aged 40 and above, senior citizens and frontline healthcare workers, the ministry has made a distinction on which vaccine should be given to a specific age group. At the moment, the Chinese Sinopharm, UK AstraZeneca and Russian Sputnik V vaccines are being utilized to immunize citizens who fall into the eligible criteria. However, the ministry has stipulated that persons aged 60 and over should only be inoculated using the AstraZeneca vaccine. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony explained the rationale behind this move on Wednesday.
The Sinopharm vaccine, what we have received in the instructions of the vaccine is that it should not be used in persons above 60. And the reason being, not that it's not effective, is that when they did the clinical trials, they did not have a large population of over 60 when it was tried. And while they have not prohibited the use of the thing in people above 60, they have said they don't have enough clinical data. And so their advisory was for us not to use it in that older population.
Months ago, the AstraZeneca vaccine was considered hardly effective to vaccinate seniors and as such was not administered to the elderly population in countries such as Germany and Canada. The World Health Organization later ruled that the vaccine is effective for use among the senior citizens.
The WHO is having a meeting today and tomorrow, and this topic of use in an older population, I'm sure would come up in those discussions, and we'll await for their guidance to see whether they have changed from the original position that they had, where they have authorized the use of AstraZeneca for more than 60 years.
On March 2nd, Chinese authorities donated 20,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine, which has been distributed across the country for the immunization of 10,000 persons. Tamika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Internationally, the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine came under further pressure on Wednesday as the European Union's medicines regulator found a possible link between the shot and rare cases of blood clots, while the United Kingdom announced it would offer young people an alternative jab due to such risks. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hull reports.
The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine under uncomfortable scrutiny. Medicines regulators in the UK and the EU have judged that its benefits outweigh any possible risks, but they haven't ruled out a causal link between the vaccine and rare blood clot conditions in a tiny number of recipients.
Based on the current evidence, the benefits of the COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca against COVID-19 and its associated risks, hospitalisation and death, continues to outweigh the risks for the vast majority of people. Our review has reinforced that the risk of this rare suspected side effect remains extremely small.
In Amsterdam, the European Medicines Agency said there was insufficient data to isolate risk factors like age and gender, and that blood clotting should be listed as a possible side effect of the jab.
This case also shows us that our pharmacovigilance system is working. These very rare and unusual events have been picked up, identified, analysed and have allowed us to come to science-based recommendations to allow the safe and effective use of this vaccine.
Investigations into the AstraZeneca vaccine were triggered after rare cases of blood clotting in the UK and Europe. Out of 20 million doses of the vaccine given in Britain, 79 cases of clotting were reported, with 19 deaths, resulting in a minute percentage chance of complications affecting 4 in every million people vaccinated. The UK regulator went a step further than its European counterpart, announcing that adults under 30 could be offered an alternative vaccine if one is available at the time and if they're currently healthy and not at higher risk from COVID-19. In reaching their conclusions, the regulators have had to weigh up the risks. For older people and those at greater danger from COVID-19, well, the minute risk attached to the vaccine is one worth taking. But for fit, healthy younger people less vulnerable to the virus, those odds are more finely balanced. So in these age groups, the UK regulator is proceeding with more caution. It's not a clean slate for the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Already blighted by political disputes and manufacturing delays, question marks over possible side effects could further dent its credibility, even if the regulator's verdict is that it's broadly safe. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
We now move on to the latest weather report. Current conditions are cloudy with light showers. Winds are east to the northeast at 6 to 12 knots, becoming lighter at times. The temperature is 24 degrees Celsius or 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 5 to 6 feet. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today says to expect partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 20% or a slight chance of showers. Tonight will be partly cloudy to cloudy with a 20% or a slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:26 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow at 5:59 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.